Funny games. Most horror movies give you a fighting chance. The killer trips, the gun is within reach, someone survives to tell the story. Funny Games gives you that moment and then takes it away. Michael Hanke's 1997 Austrian film follows a wealthy family on vacation. A mother, a father, their young son, and their dog arrive at their lakeside cottage. Two polite young men in white gloves knock on the door asking to borrow eggs. Within minutes, the dog is dead, the father's leg is shattered, and the family is being held hostage. What follows is methodical, intimate cruelty. The two intruders, Paul and Peter, don't want money, they don't want revenge, they want to play games, they bet the family won't survive until morning. And here's the trick, Paul keeps breaking the fourth wall, looking directly into the camera, asking you if you're entertained, asking if you think they have a chance, winking at the audience like we're complicit in what's happening. The mother manages to grab a shotgun, she fires, Peter drops dead. For one glorious moment, it looks like she's won. Paul doesn't scream, he doesn't mourn, he sighs, annoyed like someone pressed the wrong button on a video game, then he picks up the television remote and literally rewinds the film. We watch the scene play backward, he grabs the gun before she can reach it. Peter is alive again. Your hope deleted. Hank isn't just torturing his characters, he's torturing you, he's showing you that every horror movie victory is a lie told by the filmmaker. The director always controls who lives and who dies, Hank simply refuses to lie about it. The family is killed, all of them. The boy first, then the father, then the mother, thrown overboard with her hands tied. And the two young men in white gloves, they knock on the next family's door, asking to borrow eggs. No longer human. They say comedy is tragedy plus time. But what if the comedian was dying inside the entire time? No Longer Human is Osamu Dazai's semi-autobiographical novel published in 1948, the same year he killed himself. It follows Yozo Oba, a man who has never once felt like a human being. From childhood, Yozo is terrified of other people, not because they're cruel but because he cannot understand them. Their emotions, their desires, their easy way of existing, all of it feels alien to him, so he develops a mask. He becomes the class clown, the charming fool, the man who makes everyone laugh while feeling nothing at all. Mine has been a life of much shame, the novel opens, remember this line. Yozo drifts through life from failed suicide attempts to alcoholism to morphine addiction. Every relationship he forms collapses. Every woman who loves him is destroyed by proximity to his emptiness. He marries a pure, trusting woman, and when she is violated by another man, Yozo's only response is numb detachment. Not rage, not grief, just nothing. He keeps smiling, he keeps joking, the mask never slips in public. But in private he writes, I have always shook with fright before human beings. By the novel's end, Yozo is committed to an asylum. A former acquaintance remarks casually, he was an angel. But Yozo's final notebooks tell a different truth. After everything, the drugs, the women, the failed deaths, the asylum, he concludes, I am now utterly disqualified as a human being. The tragedy isn't that Yozo suffered, it's that he was never able to feel connected to anything at all. Not love, not pain, not even his own destruction. Dazai drowned himself 3 weeks after finishing the manuscript. He was 38 years old. 1984. Every dystopia gives you hope that the system can be beaten. One brave rebel, one spark of resistance, one crack in the machine. George Orwell's 1984 gives you that hope for 300 pages. Then it shows you what happens to hope. Winston Smith lives in Oceania, a superstate ruled by the party and its omnipresent leader, Big Brother. Telescreens watch every room. The thought police arrest those who even think against the regime. History is rewritten daily to match whatever the party needs it to be. War is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength. Winston knows something is wrong. He starts keeping a secret diary, an act punishable by death. He begins an illegal love affair with Julia, a fellow rebel. They find each other in hidden rooms, whispering words the party forbids. We are the dead, they tell each other, but they believe their love is something the party cannot touch. Then they're introduced to O'Brien, a high-ranking inner party member who claims to be part of the resistance. He gives them the book, a manifesto explaining how the party maintains power. Finally, Winston thinks, finally, the resistance is real. It isn't. O'Brien is the trap. The resistance doesn't exist. The book was written by the party itself. Every moment of Winston's rebellion was observed, permitted, cultivated. Because the party doesn't just want to catch thought criminals. It wants to cure them. In the Ministry of Love, Winston is tortured for months, not for information, not for confession, but for correction. O'Brien explains patiently, we are not interested in the stupid crimes you have committed. The party is not interested in the overt act. The thought is all we care about. We do not destroy the heretic. We convert him. In room 101, Winston faces his worst fear, rats. A cage is strapped to his face. The door begins to open. He He screams, "Do it to Julia, not me, Julia." And with those words, the last human part of him dies. The novel ends with Winston sitting in a cafe drinking victory gin. He has been released. His mind has been rebuilt. He looks up at a poster of Big Brother, and for the first time he feels what the party always wanted him to feel. He loved Big Brother. Not pretended, not performed, loved. The party won completely, absolutely, and Winston helped them do it. Johnny got his gun. What's worse than dying in war? Surviving it. Dalton Trumbo's 1939 novel Johnny Got His Gun follows Joe Bonham, an American soldier in World War I. A shell explodes near him. When he wakes up, if you can call it waking, he realizes what he's lost. His arms gone. His legs gone. His face, eyes, ears, nose, jaw, tongue gone. But his mind is intact, perfectly, horribly intact. Joe is a living torso, a slab of flesh on a hospital bed, completely deaf, completely blind, completely mute, with no way to communicate and no way to know if anyone even realizes he's conscious. The doctors assume he's a vegetable. They keep him alive as a medical curiosity hidden away in a dark room. For months, or is it years, Joe can't tell. He drifts between memory and madness. He relives his childhood, his girlfriend, his father's death the moment he enlisted. He tries to track time by feeling the sun through the skin on his chest. He counts the days. He loses count. He starts again. Then Joe discovers something. By banging his head against the pillow, he can tap out Morse code. A nurse notices. She touches his forehead. He taps desperately, SOS, SOS, SOS. Someone understands. A military official comes to his room. Finally, Joe thinks, finally I can be heard. He taps his request. Put me in a glass box, take me to schools, show me to the world, let people see what war really does, let me be useful. Or kill me. The military's response, one word tapped onto his forehead. What you ask is against regulations. The official leaves. Joe is alone again, in the dark, in the silence, forever. The novel ends with Joe still tapping, still begging, knowing no one will ever answer. A mind buried alive inside dead flesh, kept breathing by people who refuse to let him die. For nothing. Blood Meridian. Cormac McCarthy's Blood Meridian is often called the most violent novel ever written in the English language. It is also one of the most terrifying, not because of what it shows but because of what it suggests, that violence isn't an aberration of human nature, it is human nature. The novel follows the kid, an unnamed teenager who joins a group of scalp hunters in the 1850s American-Mexican borderlands. Their mission, kill Native Americans for bounty money. What follows is 300 pages of unrelenting slaughter, villages burned, children murdered, men scalped alive. The prose is biblical, almost beautiful, describing horrors with the detachment of scripture. But the true center of the novel isn't the kid. It's the judge. Judge Holden is 7 feet tall, completely hairless, pale as a corpse, and supernaturally intelligent. He speaks a dozen languages, draws botanical sketches, and plays fiddle by firelight. He also murders children, orchestrates massacres, and delivers monologues on the sacred nature of war. War is God, the judge declares. War endures. Throughout the novel, the judge seems less like a man and more like a force. He survives everything. He never ages. When others die, he persists. When the scalp hunting gang is destroyed, the judge simply moves on. 30 years pass. The kid, now the man, wanders into a saloon in Texas. And there, sitting at a table as if he'd been waiting all along, is the judge, still hairless, still pale, still smiling. They talk. The judge speaks of the man's flawed heart, his failure to fully embrace violence as destiny. The man walks to an outhouse. He opens the door. The judge is already inside. A witness opens the door later. He looks inside and recoils in horror, unable to speak of what he sees. McCarthy never tells us either. The novel's final scene, a saloon filled with dancers. Among them the judge, naked, fiddling, sweating, laughing. He never sleeps. He says that he will never die. And the reader understands. Evil doesn't have an ending. It doesn't get defeated. It just waits. It just dances. It just continues. The Road. I covered The Road in my previous video. And Darkest Universes. But universes and endings are different things. The world of The Road is ash and silence. The ending of The Road is something else entirely. Hope and the death of hope, held together in the same breath. A father and son walk south through a dead America. The sky is gray, the forests are burned, there are no animals, no plants, no future. The only food is scavenged cans. The only people left are survivors and the ones who eat survivors. The father is dying, coughing blood. He knows he won't last. For the entire novel, he tells the boy they are carrying the fire. It's their phrase for goodness, for humanity, for the choice to remain decent in a world that has abandoned decency. The boy believes it fiercely. The father is less certain. When the father finally dies quietly on a cold beach, the boy sits beside him for 3 days, then a man appears. He has a wife, 2 children, and he offers to take the boy in. "Are you carrying the fire?" the boy asks. "Yeah, we're carrying the fire," the man says. And for a moment it feels like hope survived. But McCarthy doesn't end there. The final paragraph pulls back, away from the boy, away from any character, and describes something lost. "Once there were brook trout in the streams in the mountains. On their backs were vermiculate patterns that were maps of the world in its becoming, maps and mazes, of a thing which could not be put back, not be made right again. The boy might survive, he might find goodness. But the trout are gone, the patterns are gone, the world that made them is gone. And nothing, not love, not fire, not survival, will ever bring it back." Threads. In 1984, the BBC broadcast a television film that traumatized an entire generation. Threads is not entertainment, it is a warning, and its ending is not an ending at all, it's an extinction event shown in real time. The film follows 2 families in Sheffield, England. Ruth and Jimmy are young, in love, and expecting a child. Their parents worry about mortgages and wedding plans, it's all very ordinary. Then the bombs fall. Unlike most nuclear war films, Threads doesn't focus on the explosion, it focuses on after, the infrastructure collapse, the food riots, the summary executions, the nuclear winter that kills the crops, the radiation that poisons everything else. Ruth survives the attack, Jimmy does not. She gives birth in a barn, alone, and raises her daughter Jane in the ruins of what was once civilization. 13 years later, the world looks like the Middle Ages but worse. Language has decayed, children speak in broken fragments, forgetting words their parents knew. Society has collapsed into feudal labor camps, the sky is still gray. Jane, now a teenager, becomes pregnant, we don't know by whom. She goes into labor in a ruined hospital, screaming in a room without medicine, without comfort, without hope. She delivers. A midwife holds up the baby. Jane looks at it and screams. The film cuts to black, we never see the baby. We don't need to, 13 years of radiation have done their work. The final title card explains that full recovery from nuclear war, if it's possible at all, would take centuries. The Britain we knew, the language, the culture, the humanity would never return. Threads doesn't end with a bang, it ends with a birth, the ultimate symbol of hope transformed into the ultimate confirmation of extinction. Revival. Every ending so far has been dark, but at least they were local. 1 family dies, 1 man is broken, 1 species goes extinct. Stephen King's Revival offers something worse. It offers an answer. The novel follows Jamie Morton, who as a child befriends Charles Jacobs, the charismatic young minister of his small Maine town. Jacobs is full of faith, full of life, until a car accident kills his wife and son. In a single Sunday sermon, Jacobs renounces God, calls religion a lie, and leaves town forever. Decades pass, Jamie becomes a musician, then an addict. He keeps crossing paths with Jacobs, who has reinvented himself: faith healer, carnival showman, electrical researcher. Each time, Jacobs is more obsessed with what he calls secret electricity, a force beyond conventional science. Jacobs believes this electricity can pierce the veil between life and death. He believes he can see what's on the other side. Remember this because he's right. In the final act, Jacobs conducts his ultimate experiment. Using a dying woman as a conduit, he opens a door to the afterlife and forces Jamie to look through. What Jamie sees breaks him. There is no heaven, there is no peace, there is no God waiting with open arms. There is only a vast, dark landscape, an endless anthill where the dead wander as slaves. They shamble in chains, tormented by entities that exist beyond human comprehension, forced into servitude for eternity. And they are aware. They remember who they were, they suffer. Everyone goes there, everyone, the good, the evil. The faithful, the atheists, every human who has ever lived or ever will live ends up in that place. Forever. The dying woman returns to life just long enough to confirm what Jamie saw. Her last words, "The dead drag the living down." Jacobs, having glimpsed the truth, doesn't scream, he smiles. "We know now," he says. Jamie survives, he's cured of his addiction. He goes on living, but every night before sleep he thinks about what waits for him, what waits for everyone. The final line of the novel isn't a question or a twist, it's a simple statement of fact. The world is a dark place, the afterlife is darker still, and there is no escape. Not for Jamie, not for Jacobs. Not for you. All right, those were some of the darkest endings in fiction. Not just sad, not just tragic, but endings that change how you see the world, endings that follow you home and sit with you in the dark. Let me know in the comments which ending you think is the darkest and why. There will be more, stay tuned. And as always, thanks for watching. Cheers!